Welcome to, oh, all right. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy 2023. I hope you had lovely holidays and welcome to the year of climate investing. This is going to be a big one. So we're excited about it here at Raise Green, and we're very excited to welcome you all to our second largest investor day in Raise Green history. We're unbelievably excited to share 7 climate impact projects and companies with you, and they're ready to take your support and help scale their meaningful climate solutions. So let's get going. At Raise Green, we have now mobilized around $6 million into climate solutions, from clean energy and energy efficiency to clean water and green finance and sustainable materials. You, our loyal supporters, have created that rising tide of change that continues to swell. And with so many projects on the platform, we know that we're putting the levers of change directly into the hands of the public. Today, you're going to hear from 7 frontline climate defenders pushing forward the clean energy transition. These folks are deploying carbon-cutting technologies block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, opening up access and building communities' resilience while they do it. So we're offering you the ability to stand with them, to power their work and power our future, and be able to make a healthy return while you do it, if your investment is successful. So what you won't hear today are specific terms about the investments and return profiles of what their offerings expect. You can look at those on raisegreen.com, specifically invest.raisegreen.com. And what you will hear is these entrepreneurs tell you about where your money would go, what it will help them accomplish, and what they're building and what they're raising money for today. So every dollar invested on Raise Green creates real-world climate project or impact that adds up to collective action. And we just recently ran some numbers on the impacts of money going into Raise Green projects and found that on average, $100 invested on Raise Green is creating more than 1,000 pounds of CO2 reductions, in addition to jobs and other economic impacts. So together, we are working to create a healthy, just, and sustainable world, but we need everyone involved in order to do that, and excited to get going. So I'll turn it over to Ben DeLynn, Raise Green's marketing manager, who will serve as our master of ceremonies today and walk us through the company's raising capital on Raise Green. Welcome to the community, and Ben, over to you.
Thank you so much, Franz. Appreciate the introduction, and welcome again, everyone. Let's get going. Today, each issuer is going to share the story of their company. It's your chance to hear directly from issuers about how they're tackling climate change head-on. First off, some background on who we are and what to expect today. We're a US-based funding portal with offices at Greentown Labs in Boston, Massachusetts, and are registered with the SEC and FINRA to sell private exempt securities. We bring investors and companies together on our marketplace, and we financed $6 million in climate solutions since launching in 2020. As the funding portal, we perform due diligence on each of the offerings before they go live. We do not provide tax, accounting, legal, or financial advice. We encourage you to review the materials, do your own research, and seek your own counsel before making any investment decisions. Today, representatives from our projects will speak for roughly 7 minutes each. If you have any, please post questions to the Q&A module. They will be answered after each issuer has had a chance to present, so make sure to ask any questions you may have throughout the presentation, and we'll get to them at the end. If you have project-specific questions that don't get covered today, please log in to invest.raisegreen.com and ask on the forum page of the company's offering. General investor inquiries can be directed to investors@raisegreen.com. Without any further ado, we're going to shift to our first presenter today, Alex Blum with Applied Bioplastics. So Alex, please take it away.
Thank you. There we go. All right. Hey everyone, my name is Alex Blum. I am the co-founder and CEO of Applied Bioplastics. At Applied Bioplastics, we are decarbonizing the plastic industry and changing the future of polymers. Plastic is essential to modern society, and despite many efforts to reduce, reuse, and recycle, humans are using more plastic than ever before. Now, besides the obvious trash problem, a major downside of this is that plastic currently accounts for about 7% of annual carbon emissions, and this is expected to grow to 20% by 2050. Now, there are efforts to temper this demand through reuse and recycling, as well as plant-based alternatives for single-use packaging. Unfortunately, these are limited primarily just to that packaging, leaving over 2/3 of the market virtually untouched. So how do we improve the sustainability of durable plastic items that these efforts don't address, like containers, furniture, appliance housings, building materials, and transportation components? At Applied Bioplastics, we've commercialized a platform technology that allows us to produce durable biocomposites that are mechanically identical to the plastic they're replacing, which enables their use in standard manufacturing processes, meaning that there's no cost to adopt them. They also incorporate sustainable plant fibers available all over the world, which reduces their net carbon emissions compared to the incumbents. Because both the plant fiber and our proprietary processing technology are inexpensive, we can win against the big petrochemical players on price today as a small startup, while also slashing carbon emissions for hundreds of thousands of products. Our solution is easy to adopt for both companies that produce and companies that use plastics, because we built our technology around the existing production infrastructure. So there's no real cost to adopt. And that means that big companies like BP and Shell and Exxon and BASF, all the really big plastic makers, can actually just use our plant filler, which is carbon negative on its own, and incorporate that into their own lines of proprietary biocomposites. So we're not going to be the bottleneck that keeps others from adopting this new technology. Applied Bioplastics is the hottest brand in composites, which helps us hire. We've won every industry award we've ever entered in the last 2 years. And the last time we put out a job rec, we got 1,400 applications in the first 48 hours. We've built a sales pipeline for our thermoplastic product that contains nearly 50 global brands, with multiple paid pilots underway with some of the largest manufacturers in the world, including nascent partnerships with several of those super major petrochemical suppliers I just mentioned. We've just onboarded multiple senior sales reps and signed our first distributorship agreement, and as of December 2022, we are post-revenue. So it should be obvious why we're seeing so much traction after only 3 years of work. We have a solution that meets every need of the current market while solving an issue, sustainability, that is top of mind for nearly every major manufacturer. We've taken away the cost of adoption, the barriers to scale, the limited feedstocks required by specialty plastic producers, and the cost difference between alternatives and the incumbents at a time when most manufacturers are making public commitments to reduce their environmental footprint. Guys, we have a tiger by the tail, but we need your help to put it in a headlock. We're currently raising in order to begin scaling our production. With so much sales traction, we need to expand our partnerships and capacity rapidly to meet that demand. We will continue to raise over the next few months, and there are a number of ways for you to become a part of our journey. Of course, we prefer that you come in through Raise Green. Guys, we're changing the future of plastics, and I want everyone watching to reach out if you're interested in purchasing, licensing our technology, being a part of our team, or of course, investing on Raise Green. Join us and see just how sustainable durable polymers can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Very nice. Very excited to see what Applied Bioplastic does. Next up, we have Aldo Grech of Voltwall.
I am here. Took me a while to click the buttons. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Franz, and thanks for the work that you are doing, assisting us through this process. My name is Aldo, and I am the founder and CEO and inventor of what I'm going to talk to you about today. We go to the next page. Here we are. So we all know that we are at the risk of surpassing the 1.5 degree limit that we have put on ourselves through the Paris Agreement. And yet the problem is large and serious. The thing is that today we have all the technology available in order to avoid continuing to burn fossil fuels, and it is renewable energy. However, whenever we talk about renewable energy, another problem raises its head. Most people ask us, but what do I do when the sun goes down? What do I do when the wind doesn't blow? The first statistic is that in an hour of sunshine, if we were to collect it, we would power the planet for a whole year. Today, we are collecting the equivalent of 9 minutes. And so there is still a lot of work to do, but the technology is available today. And the answer to what do I do when the sun goes down is simple. It's called storage. And we focus and specialize in lithium storage. There are many reasons why lithium is the right solution, and we can talk about that later if anybody has specific questions about it. But let me tell you that we have a vision to make lithium storage accessible, readily available, cost-effective, safe, and modular. And we do that through that module that you're seeing there on the right-hand side called X-Blade. When we developed, so to put this into perspective, storage is about what we install at home to store the energy from the sun so that we can use it later. The industry uses it for other purposes, so storage has got a wide and growing market, estimated to be worth $15 billion by 2027, from 4.4 billion 5 years ago. So it's a high growth industry, and it's used to store energy in order to be able to use it later. We work very closely with installers, photovoltaic installers, to get this product into the market. So when we started developing and designing the product, the first thing we did is a series of workshops with the industry to ask them, if you are already installing energy storage systems, what are the problems you are encountering? And there were quite a list. But to mention a few critical ones was that today's energy storage is difficult for us to install. Why is that? Because usually they are 13.5 kilowatt hours plus of units, which means they are 100 kilograms plus. So a unit that could be installed by one technician, you need 3 or 4 just because of the bulk. Also, being bulky and heavy, it is also in some cases too large and not very scalable. And so if I have I live in an apartment instead of a house, I probably only need 5 kilowatt hours. So I don't need to go and purchase and install 13.5 kilowatt hours when I don't need that capacity. So with this module, the way we have designed this module, which is a lithium iron phosphate module, and lithium iron phosphate was selected specifically because it's 3 times the life cycles and lower fire risk. By making it modular, it means that the installer can have a few of these in the van, and when they go to the client, they can install 1, they can install 4. Each one is 1.2 kilowatt hours, and so each one you install, you get another 1.2 kilowatt hours. It has intelligence built into it that it knows how to manage itself, how many others there are, and they work together in order to share the load of the energy that is required. And so from an installer's point of view, it is an ideal product. From a customer's point of view, it's also very beneficial because, as I said before, you can start small and grow later. The other problems that the installers asked us to solve, one specifically, was that many of their customers were worried about fire safety. And so what we've done in the design of the product, we have utilized what's known as flooded cell technology. So there is actually a liquid inside this X-Blade, this aluminum tube, and I'll show you one here. It's a real product. It's not something that we have just got in design. I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is the product. It weighs 20 kilos. It has an inert liquid inside of it that, through a patented process, utilizes in order to maintain those cells at the right temperature, at optimal temperature. What that means is we lengthen the life of the product. It also means that there is no oxygen inside the tube, and so fire risk is lowered even further. Lithium iron phosphate, in any case, is a lower fire risk lithium technology. The way we do it, we almost remove the ability for it to burn because there is no oxygen. The other thing about it is that from an installation perspective, it's just a matter of sliding it into a rack and it automatically senses itself and it gets going. So we've got, can we go to the next page, please? We've got a product that, and the reason I wanted to show you this page is that if you look at the designs, there are 3 units there on the slide. The first one to the left is the X-Blade itself, which I just showed you. And then we've got a residential housing, which is that white and gray module, which can take 11 units, which means in that module, you can have up to 13 kilowatt hours, but you don't have to start with 13.2 kilowatt hours, and then you can add more of them together. Whereas the same module we can use inside our rack mount system, which is also modular, which means that from an industrial perspective, you can actually have as many of these modules as you want. So it's virtually unlimited capacity. We already have pilot sites. We've got 71 units of these installed, which is a total of 70 something kilowatt hours. In fact, I went to a site today to show it to another potential client. These are pilot sites. We have not started commercializing the product yet, and I'll explain why later. But the product is functional. It's been in pilot sites for the last 7 months, and it's performing better than expectations. We've already done over 100 cycles with this product. And so the product is lower fire risk, it is extended life, and it's very easy and straightforward, not only for installation. If I have a breakdown, one of the cells decides to go bad for whatever reason, we don't have to take a heavy unit that 4 people need to carry just because one cell was broken. We just can remove this module, weighs 20 kilos, replace it with another one, and then it can be fixed. We have a vision of the future where these modules become like the old gas cylinder. And so basically, if there is an extended period of time where we don't have sun or something, you can go to a central unit, to a central warehouse, or a truck can come to you and replace the modules for you. That's our long-term vision for the product. The product has won a prestigious award in Switzerland in 2020 for the patented tech, and we are constantly evolving the product. So where are we at? We're at we've developed the prototype, we've installed the prototype in pilot sites. Now we need to industrialize it and patent it before we can commercialize, certify it before we can commercialize it. And so the raise we're doing is specific to help us do the next 2 steps in order to be able to bring the product to the volume market. Industrialization means that we bring the cost of the product down from a point of view of assembly, because today we assemble them manually like you would a prototype, and we've already learned a lot about the product, and we can easily half, if not bring down to a quarter, the time of assembly, which is where the costs really are. And so we appreciate your help. We appreciate any funds that we receive, because we are ready to go. We believe this product has got according to the installers, they tell us they can't wait for us to be able to give them this product. And so, you know, we look forward to continue working with Raise Green and the rest of you to make this product as successful as it deserves to be. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Aldo. Lithium storage is incredibly fascinating. Great to hear about it from your point of view and perspective. Next up, we have John Gilly of Green Island EV. John, whenever you're ready, please take it away.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Franz. Hey, team. Great presentation so far. So to my fellow presenters and founders, congratulations. This is awesome. My name is John Gilley. I'm the founder and CEO of Green Island EV Company. Green Island is an early stage company founded to manufacture commercial microtransit electric vehicles in Green Island, New York, which is located just 8 miles from the state capital in Albany. And I don't have to tell this group how important that is. So made in New York by New Yorkers for New York is a major theme for our startup. According to Bloomberg, JD Power, and other credible sources, global sales of commercial EVs more than doubled in 2022. Commercial EVs will reach 1 million in unit sales by 2025. And consumer EV market share will approach 40% by 2030. So by any stretch, any data search, the evidence is clear that EV is happening. Green Island EV is well positioned given both the New York State push towards school bus electrification and our ability to sell EVs to adjacent microtransit markets, such as shuttle buses for universities, public transit, corporate campuses, and eventually last mile delivery vehicles for commercial fleets. A little about Green Island EV. Our C-suite, our leadership, has extensive experience leading high performance organizations from startups to the Fortune 250. My team is highly regarded as EV thought leaders, innovators, strategists, marketers, brand builders, and known for building and leading organizations where the best people want to work. Green Island EV projects it will break even with annual deliveries of approximately 1,100 EVs and deliver significant net cash flow upon achieving peak annual production of about 2,500 EVs. Please visit Green Island, our Green Island EV page on Raise Green for more investor information. The opportunity. The Inflation Reduction Act, recently passed by Congress, is considered an extremely positive measure in support of vehicle electrification, with provisions that include $1 billion targeted towards zero-emission, clean, heavy-duty EVs, such as school buses and associated infrastructure. Legislation in New York State is encouraging conversion of the state's more than 45,000 diesel and gasoline school buses to electric school buses. And New York State has committed to being 100% electric for school buses by 2035. And Governor Hochul announced plans to allocate $500 million in state budget specifically towards school bus electrification. The impact. Green Island EV plans to lease a $40 million factory to build by our specifications in Green Island, incorporating significant investment in state-of-the-art assembly processes, all powered by renewable energy. Community support has been amazing, with local service providers, contractors, academic institutions from Albany County and surrounding counties under review for infrastructure and service partnerships. In short, there is zero shortage of resources to tap into to help Green Island EV succeed. Green Island EV anticipates creating 200 new good-paying jobs with both professional staff and skilled labor needed once our facility is complete. Our competitive advantage. Green Island EV is an OEM engineered to win New York first by leveraging existing and proven technology to accelerate product development and product market fit requirements. The company is led by a team with deep relationships and experience in the field. Green Island EV will redefine microtransit mobility as a service with customization and sustainable solution. We are driving the execution of unique online digital solutions for transportation assets, products and services led by e-commerce platform company TruckTractorTrailer.com and Janal Group based in Schenectady, New York. Why invest? Commercial fleet electrification is rapidly evolving into a solution of choice for many fleet operators, accelerated by an unprecedented increase in government incentives and societal demand for sustainable solutions in the wake of the climate crisis. Green Island EV believes its focus on EVs puts it in one of the most desirable investment segments of the ESG, environmental, social, and governance universe. We believe ESG itself is one of the most significant developments for institutional investors in the past decade. Green Island EV will leverage location, relationships, management experience, and incentive at a time of historic market and government public support for commercial EVs. Green Island EV founders have an excellent reputation, track records of success, and deep private-public partnerships and relationships, all of which will be leveraged to develop a winning EV product and secure profitable sales contracts. Again, please visit raisegreen.com. Look for the Green Island EV page for more investor information. Thank you for investing in Green Island EV.
Thank you so much, John. Great to see what you folks are building over in the Capital Region in New York. Next up, we have Scott Ringline with Kilowatts for a Cause. So Scott, whenever you're ready, please take it away.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks to the team at Raise Green. We wouldn't be here without you. More importantly, thanks to everyone that's listening in today. It's an honor to be able to present what we have going on, not only myself, but everyone else on the call that's presenting. Go ahead with the slide there, Lauren. So my name is Scott Ringline. I am the founder of Kilowatts for a Cause and its executive director. I'm also involved with the Energy Alliance group that has a tie to this in regards to getting the projects done. So first off, what's the problem that we have here in the market? Solar is now the cheapest source of energy out there. However, in the US, only about 4% of it is produced with solar, our energy is. And unfortunately, those that are low income have no access to solar. Over 60% of them don't even own their own home that they live in. A lot of them are renting, and their energy costs are higher because they're living in homes that are probably far more or less efficient and cost more to operate. On the other hand, we have nearly 6 million commercial industrial buildings in the US. 70% of them have no solar installed. And so this is expected to be one of the largest markets forthcoming for the integration of solar into our building stock. With that said, years ago, I was wondering how we could take the benefits of solar and then also benefit low-income families and create social good. That was the beginning of Kilowatts for a Cause. So what is Kilowatts for a Cause? We will design, build, and operate solar installations on commercial industrial properties. And rather than providing 100% of the savings to the off-taker, so the building manager or who owns the building, we're going to share a portion of it with the building owner, and then also share a portion of it with a local nonprofit that supports the local community. And today, I've been working in the clean energy industry. I'm the founder of the Energy Alliance group. We've been around since 2012. Today, we're doing solar energy programs or projects all over the United States. However, 100% of that savings is going to the off-taker. So we're taking what we do today and then utilizing it to benefit others. Now, some of you might be aware of a program called Community Solar. Well, Community Solar is where you build a large solar facility off-site, could be even in another state, and then people can opt in to actually purchase that energy that's generated through solar and reduce their bill. However, what this does not do is it does not give back to those that really need it. And then more importantly, these solar systems aren't typically built in the same area as the off-taker. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to combine, one, the savings of the solar, but two, economic development and giving back to the local community. So for example, you own a building, a commercial building in a community, and maybe you go to a church. We're able to install the solar on your building while giving back, say, to the church. In essence, it's community sharing rather than just a community solar program. An example of how this is working, one of our first projects is at a school here in Michigan, Grand Marais School. We're just putting in a smaller installation, a 20 kilowatt solar plus energy storage. So it's a fairly small system. However, over a 20-year period, the savings that we're able to share with them ends up accumulating to nearly $30,000 to $50,000. And with our program, because we're able to take those savings and bring them into net present value, rather than giving out a small portion to the nonprofit over a 20-year period, we can bring those dollars into net present value and have a much bigger impact. A lot will be asking in regards to how do we do this? How do we put all these projects together? Well, that's the power of the relationships that we have through the Energy Alliance Group. We have access to the technologies, whether it's rooftop, ground mount, or tracker systems. Also, we have access to funding. We're not asking for money from these owners to install the system. We'll fund it, we'll bring in the tax equity partner and the O&M partner to care for it. More importantly is that the overhead cost and the profit from these projects go directly to Kilowatts for a Cause to pay our investors and to grow the business. And then just the savings itself is going towards the nonprofits. Thank you again for the time. I know I'm getting cut off here short, but I appreciate the opportunity to pitch. And we look forward to your investment dollars and to grow our business. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Excellent as always to hear from you. I love the mission of Kilowatts for a Cause. Next up, we have Peter Kreischer with NEIF, the National Energy Improvement Fund, one of our oldest issuers. Peter, whenever you are ready.
Peter, do we have you?
Ben, can you restart my video, please?
Yes, absolutely. Just 1 second. All right.
You're on. Hey, thanks. And I appreciate being referred to as one of your oldest issuers, Ben. Thanks. That makes me feel really good. But yeah, I think what Ben was trying to refer to was the fact that we've been with Raise Green from the start, and we couldn't be happier with the experience we've had with Franz and the entire team in terms of us helping us raise capital for our efforts in energy efficiency work. And when I listen to the previous presenters, I'm always impressed with the emphasis on technology and everything, that all these companies are doing to expand both new technologies and what I would consider better use of existing technologies. So where NEIF, the National Energy Improvement Fund, comes in is that we are focused on helping people pay for this stuff, right? Affordability is probably the single greatest concern about people either moving into renewable energy or improving the energy efficiency of their homes or businesses. And that's what NEIF is really based on. We have gone back just historically, just to give you some framework. We come from a family business. My family's business was started in the 40s, and called AFC first. In about 2000, I refocused the entire business into energy efficiency lending. And we started creating programs for states and utilities way back then. And some of the programs like Keystone Help in Pennsylvania with the Treasury Department and Connecticut Solar Leasing Program, these are all programs that we created with program partners like states and utilities to ultimately increase affordability for the end consumer or business owner to make those improvements. Sold that company in 2015, and I was able to get my staff and team back together. Matthew Brown, my partner, whom many of you may know, who was really the creator of many of the most influential state programs across the country. Laura Nelson, my partner and COO, and much of our team is back together, and we formed the National Energy Improvement Fund in 2000 and effectively 18 is when we started to do a lot of the same stuff and really focus more on what we would call essential energy improvements and incremental improvements rather than radical change. We are incrementalists. I know that's how we think. Any little change is better than no change. And when you get down to a consumer or a business owner, the idea of what motivates a consumer, let's just drill down to the most basic line, is consumers don't want to make investments in energy efficiency or renewable energy. Maybe 5% are the early adapters, but most people are motivated when their heat pump blows or their furnace blows or they have a leak in their house. And that's what drives everything. And who makes those decisions for them? It's the contractor, right? When your furnace blows, what do? You call your contractor, and he comes and he tells you, or he or she comes and tells you what you do. So you have to realize where the linchpin is on many of these things, and it's ultimately the contractor. And we learned that having contractors that are both financially and ethically stable are as important as having contractors that are adept in installation of super efficient systems. The confluence of both of those is great, but that's our model. Our model of NEIF is to provide affordable financing for what we call essential energy improvements to homes and buildings for both. So that covers all the things you might think it covers: heating, cooling, air quality, windows, doors, siding, roofing. As you move into more sophisticated commercial projects, it does involve renewable, it does involve things like that. But when you think about, that's our focus. And now with the entire opportunities coming down, with the federal programs coming into play in 6 months, there is going to be an enormous wave coming, like there was in 2009 after the ARRA funding, of states receiving funds to promote energy efficiency that they're not quite sure what to do with. They can go, let's do a rebate program. Just think about this: a $15,000 or $20,000 heat pump, and you give somebody $2,000 for a significant rebate. But great, where's the other $18,000 going to come from to pay for that upgrade to a more efficient heat pump, to electrify your home, to do all those things? And that's where we come in. We run programs through contractors, both for residential and commercial improvements, and then we end up being the administrator of most of these state and utility programs that can provide the additional financing. Again, the typical sales process on residential is, oh my God, my furnace just blew, or my heat pump just blew, and your contractor comes in and they says, well, yes, Mr. Jones, we have the cheap system for $10,000 and the really okay one for $12,000 and the compliant one for $18,000, and we have special financing through a manufacturer, which is typically offered through a traditional finance company. That's 0% for 6 months and 32% thereafter, and it's not really a tenable solution for long-term energy improvement. So that's where we focused our work on both market-based and program deployment. When you go back, when I say we, I mean our key team has created or did create most of the state and utility financing programs that you might be aware of. And maybe that's an exaggeration, but we were the impetus for most of these programs going forward. And I'll give you an example, like what a typical program that we're talking about. As you know, states and utilities are all different, but in New Jersey, we operate, I think, 4 of the utility programs in New Jersey, where Atlantic City Electric, for example, if you're a homeowner in Atlantic City Electric or a building owner, you can get true 0% financing for 7 years for qualifying high efficiency heat pumps and other systems. You go back to how do you offer 0% financing for a 7-year term? We all know there's no such thing as a free lunch, but we also know that the utilities have funds that can be appropriated to buy the rates down, to create that impetus for a consumer. So that's where we specialize. And when we got involved in Raise Green, we raised our capital. Think of us like a bank, but we're not a bank. But we are a lender, but we are not a depository. So we fund our loans through relationships and forward funding relationships we have with regional banks and investors and other folks. But we are running the program. We are the lender. We are the servicer. We're currently servicing about 10,000 consumer accounts and probably 2,000 commercial accounts that we collect and remit the payments. But we are the administrator for those programs. And we raised our capital through traditional capital venues, but I was very concerned, and Laura and Matthew and I were concerned about keeping our mission pure. So we organized as a B Corp. We organized as a certified B Corp, which is what my version of American capitalism is, which it means like you want to do the right thing, you want to have a good product, you want to make money, right? And you want to take care of people the right way. So we focused on that whole marketplace. And Raise Green, our involvement with Raise Green came about when we realized there were smaller investors other than accredited investors that would like to make investments into the kind of projects that we were doing. So it's been a fantastic relationship. And I don't know, we probably have 500 investors through Raise Green that have made investments, certainly, a large number, but it's all about supporting the programs that allow us to effectuate these both contractor-driven and federal and state programs. We are really poised right now to see a giant influx of money come into states. So again, Matthew and Laura and I are working closely with multiple states right now to be the administrator of those programs. It's a great opportunity. It's a great way to support essential energy improvements because not everybody can do cutting edge stuff. We focus on the essential improvements, and we're very, very happy to have been engaged with Raise Green in everything we do. So thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Peter. Excellent as always. And I don't mean to refer to you as our oldest issuer, maybe our longest term issuer.
Yeah, I'm looking around the Zoom call here. I think I could be the oldest, but I'm not quite sure. Like I'm just saying,
you're one of the wisest, if anything.
I'm the nicest. That's what I am.
There you go. And with that, we're ready for our final presenter today, David Beach of the Connecticut Green Bank. So David, whenever you are ready.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone else for having me. And it's been really exciting to get to hear everyone else's presentation. As Ben said, I am David. I work at the Connecticut Green Bank. So before I talk a little bit about problem solution, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Connecticut Green Bank. We are the nation's very first green bank, founded in 2011 by the Connecticut State Legislature. And so we've been out there kind of proving the green bank model for more than 10 years. I'm really proud of the success we've had in Connecticut. And now really excited to say that there's now going to be a federal green bank known as the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund with $27 billion to fund some of these awesome projects, including some things like you've heard today. So we're really proud of the work we've done and great to see that, we know that there would not have been a national green bank if people like the Connecticut Green Bank and others hadn't shown the model to be possible. So that's a little bit about us. So the problem, of course, that we see is climate change is this huge issue, and it requires a lot of investment. And the private sector doesn't always move quickly. And sometimes there are these great projects that should get done that make money, that save people money, but they're hard to get done because folks don't have access to a loan, or they don't want to put this money down for the projects. And there's a lot of ways that the private sector and finance can really be involved to flow money into these areas. And so our solution is to use private sector disciplines for public sector goals. So our kind of job is twofold. One, we kind of look where the market isn't moving fast enough, or where there's a market gap, and our job is kind of be the key that goes into that area and unlocks it. So we have this greater flow of private capital into the clean energy space, especially in Connecticut. And our other job and goal is to make sure, as we have this new flood of private capital into the clean energy space, we want to make sure that the benefits are inclusive and accessible to everyone. And so we got into this because we were first inspired by the war bonds in the 1940s, when this country was facing a huge existential threat, and more than 50% of Americans bought war bonds and raised astronomical sums to help fight this large threat. And we see climate change as the new giant threat. And so we want to offer a similar option to allow citizens of Connecticut and across the country to be involved in this clean energy transition. So we originally started with what we call our Green Liberty bonds, which were sold to the municipal bond market. We've had great success there. The last time we went to market, we issued about $25 million and had $100 million of interest, potential subscribers. So we saw a lot of interest, but despite our best efforts, and we did move down the price of those bonds from $10,000 to $1,000, you still had to have $1,000 in a broker. And we didn't think that was good enough. So we started working with Raise Green to lower that price. And that's how we created our Green Liberty Notes. The great thing is you can purchase these for $100 online. Might take you 15 minutes to save 15% on car insurance, but it takes maybe even less time to invest in Connecticut's green economy. And that's something we're really proud of. Ben, if you can go to the next slide. So I already spoke a little bit about this. Ben, is there one more slide about the SPA program? Okay, never mind, you can just go back. I'll tell you a little bit about it. So these Green Liberty Notes are supported by our Small Business Energy Advantage program. This is a program that, kind of like the work NEIF does, is a program run through our utilities here in Connecticut that makes it easier for small businesses to do energy efficiency improvements. The utilities offer first an upfront incentive, offer zero interest loans that can be repaid on the customer's utility bills instead of having a separate loan payments. So that program really lowers the barrier of entry to businesses who want to do energy efficiency improvements in Connecticut. And it's these loans that are purchased by the Green Bank that we then own and get the repayments for, that support our Green Liberty Notes. So knowing that what's backing these notes is a green cause, we went out to Kestrel verifiers, and I believe, as far as we know, as far as Raise Green knows, we are the very first issuer to provide a green bond designated crowd-funded offering, because we wanted to give our investors that certainty, in addition to repayment certainty, which you can learn about on our site. We also wanted to offer that certainty in terms of investors knowing that you're supporting a green cause when you support our Green Liberty Notes. We've also have done other innovations now. This is the first time that, as far as we know, that anyone has offered reinvestment for through crowdfunding. That means that the people who invested a year ago in our Green Liberty Notes have the option this round to, instead of getting repaid, we will take their principal and interest that they earned and put it into our current offering. And so they can take advantage of compound interest. So we're really excited, always pushing the boundary. And if you're interested in something to do with some of that money that might be sitting in a bank account, not really earning any interest, a Green Liberty Note is a great green bond designated way to do that. The one thing I'll mention before we're done here is that because of the work we've done, because of the great interest rate environment because of this reinvestment offer, we have already sold out. We started this offering on January 9th, and we've raised more than $350,000, where our goal was $250,000. Now what happens is we created an allocation language whereby we protected the folks who reinvested. We're protecting people who invested the small dollar amounts because, again, that's why we did this. We want to make sure that people who can afford to pay $1,000 for a green bond are able to invest in Connecticut's green economy through our Green Liberty Notes. And we're also protecting people in Connecticut. Though if you are from across the country, you're obviously welcome, and we have many investors from all over the country. But at this point, we are completely sold out. So it's unlikely that if you try to invest now, your investment would end up being accepted. But please still go to greenlibertynotes.com. We have a form there for you to fill out. So we have your information. We go to the marketplace every 3 months, every quarter. There are 4 of these issuances a year. And so there's plenty of opportunities to get into this program. And now that we've had such a successful round, potentially we can increase our target offering amount going forward. But please do go online, fill out that form, and come back in April and invest in a Green Liberty Note for Earth Day. With that, I will pass it back to Ben, and thanks again, everyone, for coming out and listening to everything we have to say. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David. Very good to have you back on the platform. And again, congratulations on the oversubscription of this offering. I'm very happy to see the work you're doing to protect the smaller dollar investors. Democratizing investing, especially impact investing, is a key point for Raise Green. So we appreciate you upholding the mission. With that, that is the extent of our presentations today. We have some questions from the audience. So please, if you have other questions, post them in the Q&A module. Otherwise, we're going to be rolling into the Q&A portion. We'll try to not go over our 1 hour time limit, but it may be difficult as we'd like to get all these questions answered. First up, we have a question for Alex Blum of Applied Bioplastics or Colin Arden of Applied Bioplastics. A viewer asked, could you just briefly discuss your sales pipeline, what it looks like for whatever you may be able to disclose?
Certainly. So unfortunately, we sign NDAs with every single sales prospect because we also sign a materials transfer agreement with them, which means that they're not going to send our materials to some independent lab so that they can like reverse engineer what we're doing. So can't name any names. However, I can say that we are currently in paid pilots with the 30th largest or around the 30th largest polypropylene producer in the world. We're in discussions with a top 10 and a top 20 to also move into paid pilots with them. That's for the BioFi feedstock, the treated plant fiber, so that they can actually offer their own lines of decarbonized plastics. So that's the way that we get to, $1 billion valuation company is through those licensing agreements, because there's less capital intensity to the deployment of our technology when we go through licensing. So those are really exciting. Those are going to go more than justify our valuation down the line. But in the meantime, we're proving the viability and feasibility of our technology today by selling our pellets directly to manufacturers. We closed our first revenue in December of 2022. We got a 1,000 pound order. On top of that, we signed our first distributorship agreement, which has resulted in about 16 new opportunities, all of them with major brands, who are looking at this. Beyond that, we have our own sales pipeline, right? We're not just relying on the channel and on those licensing discussions. As I mentioned, we hired 2 senior sales reps, who are currently working the pipeline that we've generated over the last 3 years. And that includes more than 40 major manufacturers. I can't really talk too much about the value, I believe, and Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, of those deals, because that kind of goes into non-compliant stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, you can mention it as long as it's not a term of your security offering. You're all set.
Excellent. Cool. So in terms of pipeline, we have about $800 million in potential sales over the next 24 months. So tons of traction for a very early company. Multiple successful paid pilots under our belt so far, moving into partnership discussions with those companies that have gone through the pilots. And like I said, tons of opportunity out there. We need your help to help us fund that.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Very comprehensive answer. Fantastic to see the early traction you all have. Aldo, the next question is for you and VoltWall. What do you believe to be the main advantage of lithium storage systems as opposed to conventional or legacy options?
Ben, I didn't quite hear you. As opposed to?
As opposed to conventional or legacy storage options.
I'm not sure exactly what they mean by conventional storage.
I think older options, older versions of energy storage.
No, I understand, but from a technology perspective. Traditionally, the storage was limited and it was mainly used for backup systems. So, for example, energy companies might have had batteries and generators. And so, and batteries, they were lead acid batteries, like what you would have in your car. So what would happen is that if there was a failure, you'd automatically use that limited short time frame lead acid battery, because they didn't have much capacity, to get the generators going. And so in that case, obviously, again, you're relying on fossil fuels. And so you go from coal to diesel or something else. Storage is something that really was kicked off with lithium, was kicked off about 7 years ago, when Tesla launched the Powerwall. And it is today the most efficient storage methodology. In fact, I was just reading now, in South Australia last month, they had 100% energy using renewables and the lithium storage plant that they have there. And so the benefit always is that with lithium, you are not burning fossil fuels. And so when you use lithium as backup, you are not burning fossil fuels. The problem with fossil fuels, as we know, it's not only that it's a one-time use, but it ends up destroying the environment. With lithium, it's 99% recyclable. And so there is a forecast that by 2040, we would have enough lithium not to need to extract it anymore from nature. We would just be recycling it. In fact, one of the co-founders of Tesla is now left Tesla, and he's building a lithium recycling plant in Nevada. So you know, the real benefit, apart from cost, renewable now is the cheapest way of energy production, but also we're using less fossil fuels. There is really no other legacy method of storage except lead acid batteries, which are not practical, and they are a disaster for the environment. If I haven't answered the question specific, when what technology we're talking about when we talk legacy, please ask again. I'm happy to answer it.
Absolutely. Hopefully that's answered their question. If they come back with clarifications, we can always answer there. But if we don't get to your question on today's session, please go to the question and answer form on each company's offering page and ask your question there. The next question is for John Gilley at Green Island EV. John, could you speak a bit more about how the IRA and state legislation in New York are going to make New York a leader in manufacturing?
Well, first of all, it's driving awareness, right? It's getting people's attention. It's headline news. It's big numbers. I do think, and for those of us that have been in the EV game for a while, I've been in it since 2015. It takes forever for the money to get down to into the right hands, so that real action has taken place. But I think from my seat, it is about driving awareness first, and also driving the awareness not only of the problem at hand, but also some of the solutions that are in place right now. Certainly, Green Island EV, we're an early stage startup. We're going to miss that first round of IRA money. However, the market that we will launch into will be already going. We're not going to have to create the market. We're going to be selling into a market that has already been created. For other founders of startups, the most expensive thing to do is to spend money on creating the opportunity. So for us in New York, We think it's super bullish, and it's going to, pave the way for Green Island DB and other startups. Maybe some of you on this call right here to go to market in New York. There's really two hotspots for us in the United States market. It's California, of course, and it's New York second. I think though New York will be a market leader, although California they were clearly the early adopters. People that follow Tesla know that 75% of all Teslas sold up until last year were sold in California, right? So Tesla really was selling into the California market, waiting for the rest of the United States to catch up, and then really waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. So to answer your question, Ben, I think it's super bullish, but really around driving awareness.
Excellent. Thank you, John. I think that makes a lot of sense. We're all excited to see what the IRA and other legislation do for climate solutions. We know there's a lot of available money coming from that, so looking forward to seeing the results. The next question is for Scott at Kilowatts for a Cause. How replicable do you view the current Kilowatts for a Cause model? Are there other schools or groups that are looking to install solar in your network? It sounds similar to the question for Applied Bioplastics, just about your sales pipeline and what's to come.
Yeah, so right now we've had a tremendous inquiry, believe it or not, from the from churches. We're based in Michigan. We've had just a tremendous response from churches within the city of Detroit. We're also working with the city of Ann Arbor has what's called A20. That is their commitment to go carbon neutral by 2030. City of Ann Arbor is very large, very full of industrial commercial buildings. And so we are working with them to identify some potential with that. And then the other thing that we're working with is actually with the University of Michigan. Students for Clean Energy is a group there that has expressed a lot of interest, in addition to the Herb Institute, which is the School of Environment, Ross Business School as a collaboration. And so from a pipeline, that's where most of the activity is coming from. One thing that I will state is that the funds from this raise will be used towards expanding our, marketing and social media. Like all the rest of the entrepreneurs here, everything's been bootstrapped up to this point, and it's just been word of mouth to get people involved. Also through some relationships. We have, I'm part of a joint venture in California, and one of the projects that we're just finishing up there is actually for a church. And same thing, because of that church project, we're getting far more inquiries about other opportunities.
Excellent. Thank you, Colin, or thank you, Scott. Just a heads up, David Beach of Kinetic Green Bank has dropped. If you have questions for the Kinetic Green Bank, please go to the Q&A page on their offering and ask there. Our last question for now will be for Peter at NEIF. And someone in the crowd wants to know, can you speak to the benefits contractors receive by working with the National Energy Improvement Fund?
Oh, sure. I mean, that's our kind of our sweet spot. Oftentimes these contractors have financing programs available to them, but they are not really integrated into their sales process. So what we try to do is we have this whole message of go greener affordably, and we help them cross market that and then really integrate the financing into every single sales proposal they do. You cannot, think about the last time you bought a car, right? When's the last time this is the easiest equation on the residential side. Things cost $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 to do these residential improvements. Cars cost a similar amount or more, but when's the last time you tried to buy a car that there wasn't a monthly payment offered to you on every single sale, right? So our whole point is integrate a monthly payment on every single proposal that you do, and then we give them the tools to do that and the calculators to do that. and magically somebody can realize that they can spend $20 more a month on a more efficient system, which might save them $50 more a month in energy efficiency. We are working with a company called Pearl Certification and other programs to kind of document the energy savings, but that's all still very subjective on these kinds of smaller things. But it's all about us helping contractors integrate monthly payment sales like an auto dealer on every sale that they do.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter. And it's pretty clear that you guys have a comprehensive business model that helps individuals, businesses, contractors, and all. So very glad to have you raising money with Raise Green again. That wraps up the Q&A portion for today. Thank you for those who've stayed a little bit late to hear the rest of the discussion. I will pass it to Franz for our closing remarks.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben. And thank you to all of our tremendous entrepreneurs and also all of our investors who have asked great questions. If you have more questions, please do go to the offering pages of each of these issuers where you can ask those questions directly. You will get a response. Please, use this webinar as well as the materials available on raisegreen.com to learn about the investment opportunities, educate yourself and your partners and associates about the opportunities available and about the technologies. Frankly, I learn something every time we do an investor day from nearly every founder that we have on. It's fantastic to have an opportunity to engage. You can create an investor account for free at raisegreen.com. And if you want to follow in the footsteps of these climate leaders and you have your own climate tech company or clean energy project that you want to raise capital for, please go to raisegreen.com and you can click on Get Funded. We can do a consultation and we have templates, we have structuring support. We're happy to put our shoulder to the yoke with you to help get your raise up, live, and funded. So with that, we'll call it a day. Thank you for joining Investor Day, and let's decarbonize. Make your money do good. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, Franz. Thanks, Ben. See
Thank
you
you
guys.
all.